Back on the Sports Zone, I am Mike Aglialoro. So today we're going to look at a topic that we really have not talked about that much on the Sports Zone. And we're going to talk about the Washington Redskins, whether or not they should change the Redskin name. And we're going to talk about it today in light of the fact that it is gradually gaining momentum over the last few months. The pressure that has been bearing down on team president and owner Dan Snyder. Of course, last Wednesday, the U.S. Patent Office rescinded the trademark rights for the Redskins name, basically made it so that Dan Snyder is no longer the only person who can benefit off that name. That case has been appealed. This is not the first time the government has tried to take that Redskins trademark away from them, and in 1999, the Redskins actually won the trademark back to the rights to use that name. So whether or not this will actually get Dan Snyder to change the name is up for debate. But one way or another, it definitely puts the spotlight on the fact that enough people are claiming that this Redskin name is in fact a racial slur meant to disparage the Native American people. Now, one of the arguments you always hear why is to not to change the name is, well, if we change the Redskin name, what about the Chiefs? What about the Indians? What about the Braves? Don't we have to change all these names too? No, you don't. Because Redskins is the only name that is really being identified as a racial slur here. And just because you do it with one doesn't mean you have to do it with all of them. I don't see anything wrong with the Indians' name, and I haven't heard anything wrong with that Indians' name. You haven't heard anything wrong with the Braves' name. If anything, it seems like the Native Americans are really represented well by both these organizations. Same with the Kansas City Chiefs. As much as nobody really wants to jump the gun and nobody really wants to do anything about any of this stuff until there is concrete evidence of the fact that it is a racial slur. We've seen the Native American ads run during the NBA Finals the last couple weeks. Like I said, the Patent Office rebuked the trademark last week. We've seen certain church groups already said that they will boycott the Washington organization for this coming season. And one way or another, like I said, this movement is gaining momentum. But I think the problem and the reason why no one ever really wants to give the whole racial slur thing any sort of credibility is because no one is really around Native Americans enough to know why this is a racial slur to that group of people. But, I mean, common sense. This is a group of people that basically had this country taken from them at the outset of this country. Millions and millions of Native Americans were slaughtered so that the white man could build this country and take over this country. We've given them some casinos back over the last few years, but no one really takes the Native Americans seriously as a culture because there's so few of them. And in the end, it's not for white people to decide what is a racial slur or not. Because in the end, the white people aren't the ones that these words affect. It's the group of people. And I'm sorry, maybe this was a case that at first I thought the Redskins should keep their name. I'm sure a lot of people at first thought the Redskins should keep their name. But over the last 15 years, as we've moved forward as a society and become more tolerant as a society, if we're going to be tolerant to gay people and African American people and all different groups of people, you have to be tolerant to the Native Americans. And if you can see that they generally are offended by this name, just change the name and get over it. And show that you are an all-inclusive part of this society, Dan Snyder. Because I gotta be honest, everything we've seen right now has basically been politely asking Snyder to change the name. If we've learned anything from the Donald Sterling saga, it's this. If the sponsors start to pull out, and the Washington team starts to lose its advertisements and endorsement deals with all other brands as a result of this, you still think Dan Snyder is going to cite tradition as to why he can't change the team? It's sad in this society, but money talks. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like Dan Snyder is going to change the name until he loses endorsement deals and sponsorships the way the Clippers and the NBA almost did. And to address the point of they can't change the Redskins' name because it is a part of their storied tradition, I'm going to let Jon Stewart of The Daily Show do the talking for me on that one.
Oh, tradition. Well, so your argument in keeping your name is you can't just come in here and take over our ancestral property, is what you're saying. You're saying, I guess what you're saying is we had it first. It's true. It'd be like this. It'd be like this, I guess, if a group of people taught you how to survive a harsh winter, and then you invited that group of people to a feast to show your gratitude to them for helping you to survive, and then after dessert, let's say, you killed them and took their land, and then years later, to commemorate that day, you held an annual feast that included a sporting event in which one of the participating teams' names was a derogatory term for the original people that you had killed. No, I'm talking about the Redskins! The Redskins, not the Packers!
So with that, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, send us any questions and comments you may have. Thanks for watching again, folks. For This is SportsZone, I'm Mike Aglialoro. We'll see you next time, guys.